Little early morning pre-coffee review for you. What is your favorite series of games or spiritual series of games? Now, what do I mean by that? I mean things like Quacks of Quedlinburg and Taverns of Tiefenthal. See? Taverns of Tiefenthal. You hear it? What about the tiny epic games, or maybe some of the games that have numbers on the side that are somewhat related, or maybe Marco Polo or Marco Polo 2, or maybe the 18XX games? What is your favorite series of games, or loosely series of games? Let me know in the comments below as we take a look at one of the T-building games today. This would be those T-builder games like Tzolk'in, Teotihuacan, Taiwan Tensuyu, and Tekhenu from Tashini and Terzi. These are games that are typically, they involve a very unique action selection mechanic, and they involve building something. And the first one you were building these pyramids, and you were building up stuff. You were building stuff. You were building on tracks versus the stuff in your hand. Then in Teotihuacan, you were building an actual pyramid. Then in Taiwan Tensuyu, you're kind of building out and working on this giant hillside in the Incan Empire? Incan Empire? Yeah, that's the word. And then in Tekhenu, you're working in Egypt. You're building up these colonnades, columns, and then you're also working on building your town out, but you're also working on your population and things like that. So let me know in the comments below, what is your favorite sequel or spiritual sequel type games in existence as we dive in today to this very interesting Egyptian T-builder game from Daniel Tashini.
So this is Tekhenu set up for 4 players. You've got your population marker and your happiness markers here. You have the initial starting cards that are available. You don't deal these out until someone reaches their population into these colorful areas. Then you'll deal some cards out that become visible, and you can't buy these cards until you get your happiness in there. That'll be done through the actions. There are these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 action areas on the board. They're wagon wheels. Think Darius Rucker at Old Crow Medicine Show, or Disney World or Land for that matter. You got a big wagon wheel here with 1 action, 2 actions, 3 actions, 4, 5, and 6. Or you can produce based on the resources that are available in the game, which would be papyrus, bread, limestone, and granite. Those are used in order to build things on the board, do things. This giant obelisk in the middle will rotate around, which will change the type of dice that are here. Now, the dice themselves won't move unless you take them, but it'll change how available they are. They could be forbidden, which means you cannot take them. They could be tainted, which means they'll go on this side of your player board, and they could be pure, which means they'll go on this side of your player board. You'll take the total, and that will determine player order over here in what's called the Ma'at phase, which happens after every 4 actions. Essentially, player order will change after every 4 actions, and then you'll rotate this after every 2 actions, and then after every 8 actions, you're going to score, mid-game scoring, final scoring. So essentially, this will rotate after everybody takes 2 dice. And when you do, you will adjust the dice in these areas based on this guide here. So the pure ones on this one are the black ones, and on this side, the pure ones are the white ones. It just changes that total because in the Mott phase, you're gonna wanna be closest to 0 to go first. But if you're in the negative too far, you'll lose points. There's no negative for being in the positive too far. The downside is though, you're not gonna be first player, and that can severely change who's gonna win the game, as we saw last night. But the actions are, let's go through the actions and discuss what you can do on your turn, because that's pretty simple. It looks like a lot, but it's not as difficult as it looks. So first action up here, this is that's Horus. Horus action, you're gonna take one of your statues off of here. I'm gonna pick this up. We're gonna lose our production things, but you're gonna take one of the statues off of here, pay the cost under it in granite. It's 4, so you're gonna pay 4 of those if you have them. Obviously you have to have them to pay it, but you're gonna pay 4 of those. Out here, you'll take one of these statues, and you can either put it on one of the wagon wheel spaces for the gods, or you can put it over here in the Osiris area, or you can put it over here in the, who's that? Hathor area. Basically, if you put it here or here, it's just gonna give you points in the scoring section, but you also gain a gold. Gold's a wild resource. You could put it here or here. This is a majorities area. You also get certain benefits for putting things here, not the statues, but this would allow you to have a token in both columns, and you're the highest, which was what breaks tie. So that's what you can do with that action. If you put it on one of the god spaces, you're gonna get a benefit whenever someone takes that action. Over here, you've got the Ra section. This allows you to build these columns out here onto this sort of city temple area over here. The way that works is you'll pay the cost based on the dice number you take. Same thing over here, by the way. Depending on which dice you take is where you can put the statues out here. If you choose to do it here or here, the dice number doesn't matter. So let's say I were to choose this one. I would have to use a 1 or a 2 dice. There's a 2 here, so I could take this dice, put it in my pure section because it's pure. I would then take this and go over to this board over here, at which you'll notice there are 4 colors around it, or 4 sides. This one only has 2 colors. That's not always the case. Actually, it might always be the case. It's just 2 colors. Anyway, regardless, kind of like Teotihuacan, you can match these colors up against the sideboard over there, and you're going to gain points for that. So when you build one of these, you're going to score points per building of any player in the row or column that you put this in. Let's say we put it here and there was a building here and here. We'd get 2 points. You're going to get the point listed above it. Then you're going to score points for matching the symbol of the color. So let's say I had put it here. I would then have matched 2 colors. So that's 2 points there, 1 for building it, and none for buildings. And then you also get whatever benefit you cover. If you choose this one, this one, this one, this one, you double your edge matching twice. Now again, more of these are going to be out later. So let's just say I would have built this against here and here. Then now I have 3 colors matching. So I have 1, 2, 3 matching. So the more colors you get, plus you get whatever benefit you cover. These are resources. These are what's called faith tokens, and that will just allow you to match your scales a little better during that mott phase. So that's what that action does. You'll move those over there. These will slide down and another one will come out. Over here, you're building the buildings themselves, which will come off of this area of your game board. You're gonna put one of these. The cost is not listed on your game board though. The cost is listed out here. You pay bread first, so it's as many bread as the space you're putting in. So 2 here, 3, 4, 3, 2. It's more expensive in the middle because you can hit more things with that. It's a little easier to kind of cross cut. But so let's say we're gonna put this one out here and the benefits are better. What you do is you take 1 of every benefit listed. So except for gold of the 4 resources. So bread, papyrus, limestone, and granite. Take 1, 1, 1, and 1. Even though there's 2 listed, when you do this, you only take 1. If you cover it with the column, you take 2. So you take those benefits, you then score 3 points per your column in that row. So if you'd have had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 like that, you would score 3, 6, 9, 12, 15 points. Tough to do, but it's really worth it if you can do it. That's that action. And then you will raise your population, that's the bigger total, based on the number of die you choose. So if I'd have chosen that 5, this one would move up 5 spaces. Down here's Bastet. You're gonna be raising your happiness. Essentially, you're gonna pay 2 papyrus, take a dice, whatever number the dice is, you're gonna move up your happiness marker that far. That's important because you can only buy cards based on your happiness level. So currently, we can only buy cards in this section. Once we move into here, we can buy cards in this section. The cards are fantastic. But we'll talk about that in a minute. If you use a 1 or a 2, you only move up 1 or 2 spaces, but you get 2 scribes. Scribes are a unique resource. They're kind of like workers in Castles of Burgundy. You can move your dice up or down 1 or 2 spaces, or you can cash in 2 of them to do an Anubis action, which I'll go ahead and cover now. Spend 2 scribes, take a dice from anywhere on the board, and do any action on the board, and it goes in the Anubis section, not on the main section here or here, so it doesn't count against your fate at the end, the balance. Down here's Thoth. Thoth is -1 papyrus to strip all the cards and redo them. You can use a 1 or 2 dice to just get a free card. 3 or 4 makes you pay 2 papyrus to get 2 cards, any 2 cards, and 3, same thing up here, is 5 or 6, 3 papyrus, 3 cards. The cards are one-time uses with these blessings, technology cards that just benefit you permanently, and then decree cards, which you would have gotten 2 at the beginning, in which you pick 1, but you can gain more of these. They're just in-game scoring cards. Really good. I will say the rulebook has a phenomenal idea of what every single card does. It's a chart listed in the back. Over here is Osiris. It's the last action, and we're going to wrap up. Osiris is this majorities area where you'll spend 1 happiness. You'll choose one of your buildings out here. You will then put it onto one of these sections based on the dice number you choose. You move up your production value. So these squares will start here. You would move up the production value based on what you put it on with these arrows, and you'll take the benefit there. This also is a majority section during scoring. That is how you do that. The other action you can do is you can produce instead. So let's just say that our production value is at a 2 here. If I take this 2 dice, I would produce 2 papyrus. It's based on the color of the dice. Gray doesn't produce anything. I would produce what I make. Now let's just say this was a 6, but I only produce 2 down here. You would get greed points, in which basically the extra would go into your tainted side, hurting you in the mott phase. You're gonna do all that over and over and over until you score. The first scoring happens. You'll score basically, here, let me just give you the quick overview of what happens when you score, and this is over. Scoring, you're gonna score the temple complex up there, basically your buildings and your statues and your pillars. You're gonna score this area here. You're gonna score as many pyramids as your happiness is reached, times 3 points. You're gonna score 2 points per production marker at the 6, and then you're gonna score as much as your revealed here and revealed down here in the temple area, which can get all the way up to 21 points for having those statues out. And then last but not least, you have to pay the amount of bread shown, minus 3 points per bread you don't pay. That's how you play Tekhenu.
So that's it. It's not nearly as complicated as it seems once you start playing. And I say that as someone who's played it multiple times. And when I teach this game, the first reaction is, oh, that's a lot on the board. And then by mid-game, people go, oh, there's really not that much you can do. Think about it for a minute. Those actions, 2 of them involve you doing something pretty detailed. And by pretty detailed, you see it on the board, it says do this, then this, then this. And that's it. The other ones are things like pay papyrus to get popularity, or pay happiness, pay papyrus to get cards. The thing I love about this game, first of all, how it looks. Obviously, that obelisk in the middle is very cool. I like the idea that the dice can be used or not used depending on where they are, but you also have to keep that balance. It's very Egyptian, folklore. I love the idea that you can use that Anubis action, which is a really great action. So one strategy tip I'll give you is do not overlook those cards at the bottom. Blessing cards, yes, are good, but my goodness, those technology cards will totally help you out long term. The decree cards are great. I got to brag on the rule book for a minute. The index in the back of the rule book with every single card listed and easily accessible and easily explained is fantastic. It does such a good job at that, so I love how that's done. Presentation, the game's an eye catcher. You walk past the table, you go, whoa, what is that? Gameplay mechanics, I think they're all very sound. They're all very solid. Everything works into each other. I love the production mechanic where you choose to produce based on the dice you choose, but if you overproduce, you're greedy and you have to put it on the tainted side of your balance. I love that balance thing. I love the phases. It's very easy for people to understand. Okay, I'm going to take one dice, goes back around. Okay, I'm going to take another dice, then we rotate. Add dice to the board. Do that again. Now we do that phase where we change player order. Do it again. Now we score, rinse and repeat, and then the game is over. It's actually very straightforward. The game doesn't look straightforward, but it's very straightforward. I highly recommend this game. It was in our 5 golden games of the year for 2020. Of the T games, this one shoots really high to the top of the list. Depending on the day, it's either my first or second. They're all such good games. I highly recommend all 4 of these games. Plus, there's one coming out in Babylon this year. I can't remember the name of it, but either way, go check out Tekhenu. You will really enjoy this game. It's got a unique mechanic for action selection. It's got a very unique look. It's just a fun game. The mechanics are tight. They build on each other. It's easy to run your empire. It's not hard to feed your people, etc. There's a lot of ways to get points, and you can win as a dark horse. You can completely come from behind and totally win, which I love, versus some of the other games where you see that you're ahead, you're going to win no matter what. So I'm Brian Drake here on the Dice Tower. Make sure to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, etc. at Dice Tower Brian. Till next time, we'll see you.